Manish, Mehta here alongside Seth, Walder. Seth, the Jets are 1-7, but they sure generate a lot of news. The big news coming out on Monday, there's a new quarterback in town, a new starting quarterback. Mike Vick has taken over for Geno Smith. Not really that much of a surprise considering the struggles that Smith has had this season, and especially considering those 3 first-quarter interceptions. Why did Rex Ryan make this decision?
Well, really, he had to. I mean, Geno Smith has thrown 10 interceptions this season. It has gone the exact opposite of how they hoped in terms of his development. He had to be benched. They weren't even through the first quarter yesterday. He has to turn to Mike Vick, and to me, it was surprising that Geno Smith said he was a little surprised because, honestly, what did he think was going to happen at this point?
Yeah, and Geno Smith also said that he's unsure whether he'll get an opportunity at some point over the last 8 games to start. I would be hard-pressed to see that happen if Mike Vick plays at a high level. Of course, Mike Vick has a history of getting injured. People in Philadelphia can tell you all about that, so maybe there's a chance that Geno will be back. What I thought was interesting is that Geno Smith, as you said, was a little bit surprised about being benched. However, when we asked him today what his immediate reaction was, he had something that was kind of weird.
He said I had no reaction. I just went on with my day. Now, if I lost my job today, I probably wouldn't just go along with my day. But I think it's just a really strange day here in Jets world. And one thing we should know, Rex Ryan was very clear. Geno Smith, Mike Vick is the starter for this week.
Correct.
Unclear going forward. What the deal is.
Yeah, look, if Mike Vick is playing well and they're winning games, they're obviously not going to bench him. So this is really up to Mike Vick. He hasn't been a starter since before he got injured last year. He outplayed Nick Foles in the preseason, had a hamstring injury, never got his job back. So if Mike Vick does play well, even though he's clearly not the future for this franchise, I think he'll hold on to the job. It's hard if you're winning games after losing 7 of your first 8 to make a quarterback change and justify that for that locker room. Earlier in the day, General Manager John Idzik briefed everybody on his State of the Union mid-season address. It was bizarre, it was odd, I thought it was pretty sad, to be honest with you. What are some of the highlights of what Idzik had to say?
Well, the first strange part was that Idzik spoke for 19 minutes, a 19-minute monologue to start the press conference. That's obviously very unusual.
Yeah, strange.
He went through a couple talking points. He took accountability for the team. I thought that was notable. He said he thought that his job the job he's done is unsatisfactory to this point. But then he just went through basically everyone else in the organization and praised them before anyone even asked a question.
Yeah, and I thought it was unusual for him to come out so forcefully supporting Rex Ryan, saying he's a leader, he's a motivator, he's an excellent football mind. All those things sound great, but then he stopped short of saying and guaranteeing publicly at least that Rex would be the head coach for the remainder of the season. Forget about 2015, Seth. Look, if you don't want to say we're not going to make any long-term commitments, I'm okay with that. But at least have the decency, after praising the man, to say that he will be our head coach for the remaining 8 games. I thought that was weird. I thought that was bizarre. I thought it was sad. I thought it was pathetic.
Well, we're going to be revisiting this because after the Jets play the Dolphins in Week 17, if they do indeed fire Rex Ryan, we're going to turn around and say, John Idzik, how do you say all these things about what a great job Rex Ryan has done, how it all comes back to him, to John Idzik? How can you say all of that just 8 weeks ago and then you fire him today? I mean, if it gets to that point, it will be just a very interesting. We'll be looking for a very interesting response from John Idzik.
Yeah, because not only did he praise Rex, but he himself admitted that he has done an unsatisfactory job. So if you're the general manager, you come out and say, hey, look, I've done an unsatisfactory job, I've got a great head coach, and then you fire him 2 months later. I think the word hypocritical comes to mind.
I think you could say that. Now, so they talked about a lot about, John Idzik spoke about different subjects, but Geno Smith, of course, came up. This was before we knew that Geno Smith had been benched for Mike Vick. And John Idzik said, they're basically still trying to figure out, is Geno Smith developing? I think he said, is he taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or vice versa? And that's really the question.
Right, and I don't know about you, but I don't need to see another snap from Geno Smith. He has started 24 games. In half of those games, he's had multiple turnovers. As you said, he has 10 interceptions this year. In every meaningful statistical category for quarterbacks, he is either at the bottom or near the bottom. And I think we've seen what we need to see from Geno Smith. Some highs, a lot of lows, radical inconsistency. He is clearly not the franchise quarterback. I think that's pretty obvious to everybody. It's obvious to people in the building whether they want to admit it or not. I think that'll become abundantly clear when the Jets draft a quarterback early in next year's draft.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think in 2015 you're looking at a new starting quarterback who is not on this roster.
Yeah, well, a busy day for a 1-7 team. They go to Kansas City with Mike Vick, who will be facing his former head coach Andy Reid, who gave him a second lease on an NFL career. Right. Those are two obviously very close to each other. So that'll be an interesting storyline. But let's face it, the playoff storyline is dead. The Jets are dead. I don't know if Rex Ryan will be back. I think he deserves a better roster than he was given, but it's a cutthroat business. So if the Jets do fall flat on their face and finish 4-12 or somewhere thereabouts, it's really hard to justify bringing the head coach back. I think the general manager has done an absolutely embarrassing job to this point, not giving his coaches the proper tools to be successful, especially considering that they won 8 games last year. This was not a team that was 2-14 a year ago. It was an 8-8 team, a team that was on the cusp of making the playoffs. The general manager, either through being clueless, oblivious, or intentionally sabotaging, which I don't think is happening, but one of those scenarios has to be true, and none of it is necessarily positive, sheds a positive light on John Idzik. He's done a terrible job. If Woody Johnson wanted to clean house, start with a new general manager and a new head coach, I think there won't be that many Jets fans who would be complaining about it. But we'll see how the next 2 months shake out. A lot happening. For Seth Walder, I'm Manish Mehta. You can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth Walder NYDN. You can follow me at Mehta NYDN. Of course, all of our stuff on the internet at nydailynews.com.